Broadcasting alive from the Green Room Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, it's the At Home Show with Josh Carey and David Bates, celebrating 25 years of home and garden wisdom. Without further ado, your hosts, Josh Carey and David Bates.
Oh, welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday morning. It's time for the At Home Show. We're here for you from the Green Room Studio here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. It's kind of one of these 8 o'clock on Saturday morning things that we do every week.
Sure.
I've been doing it for a minute.
We have been doing it for a minute, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute.
Oh.
But this first minute, let's talk about weather. Let's go to weather, and in case you haven't been paying attention, there's some significant change to be made, and turning the audio off on all devices is one of those things. Today is Saturday, and it's going to be just like every other day we've had recently, 82 degrees, mostly cloudy conditions. Could be a few showers towards the end of the day. I don't know how many of you are out driving at, say, between 5:45 and 6:15, but the full moon this morning was incredible. So, unfortunately, the eclipse that could be visible won't be here because clouds. And it's going to be mostly cloudy today, increasing clouds through the afternoon hours. 82, 68 for the overnight low. Sunday, a little cooler, 71, 48, and showers. And then things start to change. Monday, 51 for the high. 33 for the overnight low. 33, Josh, for the overnight low.
That means frost?
No, because it'll be cloudy. There won't be frost. Okay. But on Tuesday, it won't just be frost, it'll be freeze.
Oh, my
52,
goodness.
29 in sunny conditions. You cannot have frost with cloud cover, but when the clouds go away, you can not only have frost, you have that radiational cooling effect, which can occur and usually does when you have zero cloud cover. And that makes the bottom, temperature-wise, drop out. 52-29 Tuesday, 50-29 for the beginning of next month, which is November. 59-36 Thursday, and begins to warm up. Later next week, 66-43. And by next Saturday, perhaps back into the 70s again, albeit briefly. We are making the
turn toward winter.
This is actual fall-like weather. It's been really more like summer up until
yesterday.
Well, through today. So tomorrow things start to look a little more fallish.
So we're going to get rained on at the Titan Stadium tomorrow night? Or tomorrow?
I don't know what this "we" means exactly, but yes,
whoever is in French, by the way.
I think whoever is in attendance, likely that will occur.
All those people in those throwback jerseys are going to be getting wet tomorrow.
It's entirely possible. So anyway, it's currently 64 degrees here in the Music City, and welcome in everyone. This actually, Josh, this marks the line of demarcation.
It does.
Yes, because
a line in the sand?
Yeah,
kind of.
I think sand is probably appropriate because it's hopefully not quicksand. 25 plus years ago, you and I started doing this broadcast thing together. We did it in radio for many of the original years up until about 3.5 years ago.
22.
It was all radio. And we thought it was over, and then we kind of discovered the YouTube thing, and along the way in YouTube we've kind of developed our little shtick here. However, our name of our program really doesn't reflect extremely well what the program is all about anymore.
That's true.
Very
valid.
And At Home Show has a whole lot of other programs been named the At Home Show. So we're hoping to be able to rebrand what we're doing here a little bit. That's gives our name a little more unique, and also something that is more closely aligned with what the program is all about. Beginning next week, this program will be known as Gardening Inside Out. So we're gonna be doing that. We hope to be able to connect with a more expansive gardening audience because
inside or outside,
it doesn't matter.
No.
We've got it all covered, and due to the extreme nature of the diverse plant material that we carry here, we really have a great opportunity to speak to a much greater audience, indeed nationwide.
Or worldwide.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking to hopefully increase that audience as we work through this transition. The podcast, which has been going on for the name change has happened about a month ago, has already occurred, and so this is the next kind of thing. But
so that's what we were teasing about.
Yeah, the At Home Show it's been a remarkable run. Would you have ever have believed that in 1998 we would still be doing it 25 years later?
No. And if we think back to those days, can you remember back that
I
far?
can remember. Yeah,
the original name of this program was going to be Inside Out.
Yeah, that's what we were going to call it. But because there's
some garden furniture place that opened up, and they decided that we had
management.
Management
got scared.
Management got scared.
So anyway, we're kind of going back to what our original roots, the name we wanted to use, and but we have simply also added gardening to the front end because that is what we're all about.
And we've expanded the cast greatly. It's
Very
not
much.
just Josh Carey and David Bates anymore.
It's not.
No.
It's quite an expansive cast. And we have interchangeable
Cast of
players.
thousands. Yes.
As you may have noticed already this morning, Rachel Chapman joins us today. Tyler Blankenship has the day off. Good morning, Rachel. Welcome. We're glad
Rachel
to have
Cam, yes.
We're glad to have you aboard today. And of course, per usual, at the opposite end of the studio, Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen. Welcome in, guys. Good to see you both today.
There they are.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
And we've got this end of October. It's a very seasonal transition that occurs. It seems like almost every year, this is what we get at the very end of October, early November. The weather decidedly changes, and this is not going to be the exception.
No.
So what do people need to be thinking about with respect, or what do they? Because there's a lot of people who are totally unconscious of it. They're going to start freaking out Monday morning.
Oh no, I
gotta get these plants.
Do I have to insulate my
You really have a
plants?
great opportunity to take care of those kinds of things today or tomorrow before the weather gets severely cold, so you don't have to be killing yourself, Caroline. Get all of your
How did you
plants in.
know? I haven't. I shouldn't say this, but I haven't really taken any of my houseplants in yet. So it's going to be a busy. It's going to be a busy Sunday trying to get all of my cactus in. It's mostly cactus that I put outside. A lot of my leafy plants just stay in year round. So
Now the cactus, to be fair, can take some cool weather.
they can take it, and I've tested pretty much all of them, and they can handle it down into the 20s as long as it's there for just like a couple hours, and we don't get a hard frost where they are, especially if they're under a cover.
Yeah, there's
but
no
I'm going to
guarantee
go
of
ahead and bring
that.
them all
Did you know
in.
she says she tested them?
I-
It's because
I
she
have.
left them outside and didn't pull them.
You know,
An
I have
unscheduled
found that
test,
there are
perhaps.
some cactus that I have in my house that are pretty cold hardy. I forgot about one, and now I can't remember which one it was because I have so many and it was a while ago, but I left it out almost all winter, completely forgot about it, and it was completely fine. But now that I don't know which one it is, I'm not going to test that hard with
Well,
these.
and there are things that can help mitigate the severity. Like you might have had some cloud cover roll in. There are subtle nuances that you might not detect that are working in your favor that might erroneously lead you to believe that, well, under these conditions this would be safe, and then you have a clear night and it goes maybe 2 degrees colder, and then you get bit severely. So it's important to be cognizant of the actual weather conditions and what is possible. And if you have clear skies, the certainty of lower temperatures is there. Now, how low depends on.
How low can they go?
And the certainty of cool weather is certain. And it happens every time this time of year. I think last year just like freaked people out because we had that extreme event. That was weird.
That
something-
was not normal.
No, that was far from normal. But normal cold temperatures and a first freeze or frost is every single year this happens, and we've been getting questions here at the nursery from people that are like, "Do I need to cover my plants or what?" Like, no, like y'all. No. Now I'm not talking about house plants, y'all. You gotta get those in. You're gonna see some damage, but your shrubs and your trees and those things that are planted outside and have been established or whatever, like, it's time.
They gotta go to sleep.
They gotta go to sleep.
They want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, even evergreens. You know, like last year was weird, and it damaged a ton of our broadleaf evergreens. They typically don't worry about the cold at all. They usually keep their leaves. We'll talk about hollies or laurels, whatever, that got bid last year. This year, like, that could happen again, I guess, but that was an extremely rare event. It's time for our plants to feel that first freeze and frost and go dormant.
And you know what I noticed yesterday in particular, and that wasn't the first day that there was leaf drop off of deciduous trees, but yesterday there was just a huge amount that started shedding off, and we haven't really had cold weather, so it was remarkable the amount of leaves coming off of trees ahead of the cold weather. It's almost
it's also been really dry, so I think
that also adds a lot.
Yeah.
The color on trees was nice, but it's going to be very short lived because they're going to be off of there. Probably by mid next week.
Yeah.
Many of the trees will be devoid of foliage. Of any
redwood
color
is starting to turn.
They're going to go. They're going to go fast.
Yeah.
So the dry conditions are a major contributor to the shortness of the time the leaves are going to hold on, and also the lack of color.
You know, speaking of that, real quick, I'm going to jump in. I want to talk about ginkgos for a second, okay?
All right.
All right. So there's this massive ginkgo tree that I passed in some person's yard, and they planted it long ago because it's getting pretty big, probably 40 foot or so, and it's really good looking. And it's in the yard in kind of a low area, and I can tell that it gets plenty of water, and it's a very healthy tree. It's 100% green still, totally green. Right up here, right up the road at the post office, there's this ginkgo tree that's been planted in between like the two like driveways,
right?
And it's in this like very not great spot really for a tree, to be honest with you. Now ginkgos can handle that, but it's in a not great spot. Okay, so I can tell the water is not getting there near as well, and it is not near as healthy as that other one, and it's totally yellow right now, and it's dropped about 25% of its foliage. So that just goes to show you like the water and the drought conditions and the stress that a plant has on it during the growing season changes the fall color, because there's no other reason really why that would happen. It's already decided, I'm going to go yellow, I'm going to drop dormant because I don't really have the resources to keep these leaves, whereas that other one has plenty of water and plenty of nutrient, and it's still totally green. Hadn't even thought about turning color yet.
Now, one of the things
Got to start thinking about that.
I've also seen, particularly on trees that come from seed, and ginkgo is one of those that is typically grown from seed. You do get variation between individual plants. They don't all exhibit the exact same traits with respect to growth habit, with respect to the transition of color in fall. So that could be a part of it as well. But I think you're largely on the money with the fact that this is a tree that's in a spot that's really got favorable conditions. It's still real happy, and it's not feeling like it needs to drop the leaves off. But one thing for sure, when ginkgos decide to drop them, they're gone.
They're gone. They make a skirt. Oh, a skirt.
I always, we were talking about deer. I was looking at questions. I always brag about how deer don't bother my newly planted trees. They killed one of my Japanese maples.
Killed it?
Yeah, I guess they rubbed on the side like they do, or something did.
Hey, speaking of deer,
it looks like it's gonna be
this
dead.
morning I almost hit a 6-point buck that had already been hit. That was on the left side lane on Briley Parkway this morning. I was coming around a slower vehicle, and this buck is lying in the almost to the middle of the lane.
Ouch.
Dead in the and I only just barely managed to get around it and not make contact with the other truck because it was a big carcass. I did not need to be hitting that at 55 miles an hour.
No.
So, and it's that time of year where deer are moving.
They are everywhere.
Gotta be watching for them.
That's not fun. I actually fully ran over it was already dead. It's called a cheetle deer. They're only in like South Texas. They were brought in for like big game hunters a long time ago. They are giant deer. Ran all the way over one in my Honda Fit, went all the way in the air, and we were fine. But that was crazy. And then we had to go to a mechanic, and he was like, oh, yeah, this is the kind of deer you hit. I see the fur in the front of your car. Didn't do any damage. But that is pretty scary hitting deer. But there's also a lot of spooky things in the air right now.
What's that?
Halloween is coming up in just a couple days. So we do have a little treat for you guys. I don't know if you remember last year we did our Bates Little Shop of Horrors, where Ben and Caroline fell through a hole in the tree lot, and it took us to the place where trees go to grow up. And there was a very spooky somebody there, possibly this guy next to me. And we had to identify 3 trees in order to get out. And so Ben, panicking, pushed me out of the way, named the 3 trees, and then ran up the hill to escape. So we do have a continuation from that.
Part 2?
Part 2, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That
a sequel.
we are going to premiere. No one has seen it. So you guys will be the first to see it. So I think we're ready, Rachel.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Austin hasn't seen it yet. Don't be scared.
Caroline! I thought I left you for dead!
I bet you never thought you left me for alive. I've been waiting a long time for this.
Yeah, Benny, you went the wrong way through the portal. What was that about? Now I'm a tree. Look at me, I'm a tree. I'm a tree. Good job, way to go. You messed something up, and now I'm a tree. I'm a tree.
Yep, I learned so much about trees that I turned him into one. And you're next.
I'm gone! You can't get me!
Hey! Where y'all going? I'm a tree now! I can't move! I got basic needs, I need water! I don't need too much water, because I don't want to get my feet wet! Look, y'all, my limbs are getting long. They gotta be cut sometimes. Please! 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 Please!
No, I didn't mean to!
See you next fall. Caroline at the office. I have 2 new arrivals that need tags.
Yay! So you gotta tune in next year to see what happens with everybody.
The GM has been drug into the danger pit.
I'm going to be an emotional wreck after this. No.
I have to say, the part when we added the music to Austin being left on the tree lot is really sad, as you watch him just stay in his pot and ask for help, and that sad song is playing.
The special effects budget was
we blew it out. Yeah, turning Ben into a statuary piece is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
a lot of transformational effects going on.
Wow.
So, all right, well, great job to all, and
bravo,
and of course
bravo.
to Tyler, who's absent
not here.
today. But we appreciate those efforts, Tyler. Thank you very much, and another enjoyable installment of the Little Shop of Horrors, Bates Nursery style. So,
Yes.
wonderful.
Did it.
we did it. We nailed it. I'm proud of that one.
Now, was Austin, when he was planted, was he planted in Earth Mix Garden Products, do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't think so. He mentioned having wet feet, so I don't think that was the problem.
We had to get some education in there by talking about, what trees like, and they don't like wet feet, but they do like to be watered. Their branches get long, and they need to be cut back. So there's some stuff to learn in there.
Yes, there is.
I could have went way further with that.
It could have.
Yeah, you could have kept
It
going.
ended up on the cutting room floor. It's all, it happens in all the fine films.
But you make a great tree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Ben makes a great juniper. So,
So-
let's go ahead and get, David and I were thinking of the same thing. Time to get to some questions. We do have quite a few today. So let's start with apple trees. Best apple trees for small yards.
Oh, well, good. Good thing about apple trees is that they're fine for small yards, pretty much any of them. We sell mostly either semi-dwarf or dwarf apple trees here. And
Now explain to people the difference between what those are.
Well, there's regular standard apple trees are like some of your largest growing apple trees. For the most part nowadays, growers are just growing semi-dwarf or dwarf trees, okay? So ones that don't get quite as large. And that's really all that means. And then also at the same time, if you are a proper pruner, then you can keep an apple in a very small space.
Does that mean you keep your pinky extended when you're pruning? Is that what that
Yeah,
means?
you're a proper one.
Yeah, you must be proper when cutting your apples. But keeping them in check every year with a once-a-year prune over the wintertime is really, really beneficial for you and the plant, to be honest with you. You get higher quality fruit, you get less pest pressure, you get less disease, and it's easier for you to pick them in the fall. It's very annoying to pick apple trees when the trees are too large. Getting up on a ladder, trying to cut them.
Dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Yes.
So keeping them in check, is the way to do it. And it really... Take your pick with apple trees. I mean, I'm a Fuji, Gala, Honeycrisp kind of guy.
Oh,
yeah.
wonderful.
You need a yellow one, though, don't you? Or somebody
You
in
gotta
here.
have one yellow delicious in
It's
there.
very helpful. They have pollen for a long time, so they really help. If y'all don't know, you do need cross-pollination with apple trees, so we can't just have one. We really need to have multiple trees to produce a lot of pollen. So, knowing that if you have a really small space, at least trying to get 2 trees in there is the way to go. They even sell columnar apple trees now that go very, very thin. So if you have a very small yard, maybe that's the way to go for you. Also, grafted apple trees are great. Like we sell like a 5-in-1 apple tree. There's 5 different cultivars on the same rootstock. So if you really just have a spot for just one tree, maybe going with one of those is the way to go.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is high grafts, is where you have bud grafts that enables them to have multiple different varieties on one tree. Pretty much all of them anymore have the low graft or the understock graft, and that is where the genetic dwarfing occurs. Is that you have a rootstock that limits the size of how large the tree can grow. So that's how that gets accomplished, so that you can have a fruit tree that doesn't get 40 feet tall and take over your yard. Something that's manageable.
Yep.
They get big. I talk about them, and I think they might be dead or they're well on their way out, but I have 2 giant gnarly apple trees.
Gnarly.
On my property. Oh,
Okay.
they look like Halloween year round. They're kind of cool. But when I bought the property, they were already there, well established, been there a long time. I never pruned them, and now it's just beyond all hope. But we do have a second question about apple trees. Bugs on apple trees help. So they didn't say anything. So what kind of pest, what kind of bug would be drawn to an apple tree, and what do you do about it?
There's a number of bugs that like apple trees, and at this point in the game, there's not much to do. Okay, your apples are about to go dormant, which is what they do. They're going to drop their leaves, like we talk about a lot, and especially with fruit trees, is applying a dormant oil to their stems and covering them very, very well. First, prune them. Prune them how you're supposed to. Get on YouTube, watch little tutorials about how to prune apple trees. It's very helpful. And then after you get them pruned up, then you spray with a dormant oil. Coat those stems really, really well, every bit of it, and that'll be helpful for next year. But if you have bugs right now, not that big of a deal. They're getting ready to go.
And a dormant oil, for those who may not know what that is exactly, it is a paraffinic oil. And what it does,
It's waxy.
It coats the pests that are on there, and it literally suffocates them.
That's appropriate.
And that
for
might
Halloween.
sound cruel, except it's bugs, so don't worry about it. And somebody's radio's not worried about it either. So
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
It was me.
Oh, okay.
So anyway,
She's still
hey, let's pause the questions for just a second. I know we got started, but let's shift gears ever so slightly.
Okay.
Talk about how you're going to grow those apple trees their very best.
Yes.
Or anything else for that matter. And we're talking about Earth Mix garden products. And when you use Earth Mix garden products, you assure yourself that you are growing your plants at their optimal best. You're going to provide the finest growing conditions. And when you have plants that are at their best health, they are naturally more resistant to any
pests.
kind of pest that is going to come along. They're just going to be much tougher and more resilient against that. So apart from the fact that it's going to help plants become better established and their survivability is going to go way up. Earth Mix Garden Products is 100% organic. It's made right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and no matter where you get it, at any independent garden center or independent seller of Earth Mix products, you're going to be assured of getting the best. Go to earthmix.net and click on the Find Earth Mix tab on the top right there. Once you click on that, well, what likely will occur is a world map will come up, and then it'll ask you to turn on your local settings because I forgot to do that again. This is how I start this every week.
It's not available in Peru yet.
Right. Okay. We're gonna allow
not in Perth yet either.
We're gonna allow, and there you see the Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, up into southern Ohio. Hopefully coming soon to Indiana. We're over in West Tennessee, northern Alabama, down in Tyler's neck of the woods where his original stomping grounds are. You can either put in your address for turn-by-turn directions to the location nearest you, or simply zoom in and it'll give you that same information, or hover over any one of these locations and it'll tell you about them and how to get to them. So check it out at earthmix.net. Remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level. When you use Earth Mix Garden Products, it will help take the work out of gardening. It makes, if you've got sunlight and you can water, you're going to have success in gardening when you use Earth Mix. So thank you for giving us a moment to talk about that.
You buy something new, get a bag to take it home with them. So I mean, that's exactly what I did last week. So
absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, we're getting some very comments on the movie. Margaret Roberts said it's what a great way to show off your beautiful facility. The aerials are good, but the ground level is amazing. Greg Villaflor. By the way, Greg called the very first broadcast of the At Home Show.
He absolutely did.
How appropriate is it that he will be here for the last one?
Very much so. And Greg, great guy.
He said it was horrible, scary fun.
I love that. Horribly scary. Yeah, but that shot where we're running the like Scooby-Doo inspired shot with me and Ben, the chase
Was that what
scene.
that was? Okay, I missed the symbolism.
Going up and down the
aisles. When I was watching it after Tyler filmed it, I was like, oh, it's actually a gorgeous shot just of the lot, like getting to see everything. You get to see the paved parking lot in the background. I mean, it's a great shot of the nursery.
Which, by the way, has actually lines on it.
Oh, it's so cool.
It does. I backed into a parking spot today for the first time, and it was very exciting.
Well, and you get to see the tree lot. Now, folks, when you come to Bates, you come in the front, and you're amazed by everything you see at the garden center and the stuff that's up in the front, and then you get into the stuff that's on the main sales lot. People, I don't know, they may tend to forget that the tree lot is back there.
It's a whole other world.
It is kind of hiding back there.
It is, and it's massive, folks. You got to spend some time back there.
You do, but you got to look out for that hole where you might fall into the spooky forest.
It's this time of year because Halloween is still a few days away, so you need to look around.
And the portal is open right now, so I don't know. But you could go learn about trees from Austin. I mean, maybe he's got like a second.
What's the best tree to throw toilet paper in at Halloween?
Oh, no.
Yeah, what is the best one?
Somebody else's.
Yes, somebody else's.
That one at the chancellor, the president's office at MTSU. Yeah.
It's probably not.
I never rolled any houses.
I never had.
Just kidding.
Poor child.
Really? I did. I actually rolled a lot of houses. And there were some fun times. But speaking of fun times, let's get fun in this room with what is all around us.
Okay.
Intro music.
Wrong one.
Tyler did the same thing last year.
Caroline.
All right. So we went with kind of a spooky Halloween fall theme.
Scary plants.
Scary plants. So some like that look scary, some that are actually scary if you plant them, which we will get to in a moment. So let's start on this side. So we've got Blue Star Amsonia, which is Bridget, our perennial expert, our grass expert back there, who has been on the show and will be on it again one day, I promise you.
She will.
This is her absolute favorite flowering perennial. So look at this fall color on it. I mean, it doesn't have its flowers right now, obviously, but the fall color is almost more stunning, I would say, than the flowers. Gorgeous. And the way that it turns, we're on this side. Or, let's go over here. So that's one plant, and you see how many different colors are in there. So it takes its time. It does like one stem, another stem. So you have like this rainbow effect of all of this different color. They're absolutely gorgeous, and these do get really big over time. So they're not going to be this small. They're like a shrub. So again, stunning. Bridget sent me the picture of them a couple days ago. She was just like, "Look at this."
So it doesn't die back.
It does die back in the winter.
And then it starts over from the ground.
Comes back from the ground stronger and better, and just
that's amazing.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it's amazing. I planted some this year because Bridget just loved it so much, and I said I'm going to give it a try, and it's doing great. It seems to be pretty like drought tolerant. It can kind of handle a lot of stuff. And then, of course, we had to bring in black pansies, which are down in front. These are actually Halloween improved, so you can't really see the detail with the camera here. But there is a lot of purple in the center. So the Halloween 2 pansies that we had on the show, I think last week, were just pretty much a solid black. So these have a little bit of purple in them, and they're a little bit more velvety than just the straight Halloween pansies. And then, of course, we had to bring some pumpkins in because, it's Halloween. Why not? So let's go ahead and go to the other side. Rachel got the shot of the pumpkin over there. So behind Rachel, behind David, those like spooky red leaves. That's going to be red gnome dogwood. It's kind of hard to see, but those leaves are, Rachel's pointing it out right there. So dark, and there's a lot of like little details in the leaves as well.
Little bitty berries too.
Little bitty, they are. Are there little bitty berries?
No, you're talking about the other one.
Oh, you're talking about, I was like, I don't know if there are, Josh. But let's go ahead and move to that. So we've got chokeberry, the really, really tall one. David, are you okay? Oh, my gosh.
He's choking on
right
berries.
behind David. And there's some berries right behind his head, which is probably pretty hard to see. But it has like this layer, all these little clusters. They look like little tiny. Oh, Josh got some. David's getting some. So now you can see what they look like.
Don't eat it, Josh.
Don't eat it, Josh.
You only choke on them if you try to eat them.
We usually
We're
balance
not
the
gonna do
room.
that.
They're not edible. They're not considered edible.
But they look like little Halloween ornaments. They're like tiny little black pumpkins.
I'm
just
sure the
hanging on your
birds
tree.
love those.
Oh, yeah. They're going to love those. And then under the TV, we've got Sunset Glow Clumping Bamboo.
Oh, boy.
Bamboo.
So that's going to be one of our scary plants.
Is this a Fargesia?
Excuse you?
Do you know that off
I'm not
the top?
sure.
Forgento?
It's got a
Formosa?
Yeah, it is a
tag.
Fargesia, and that's the great thing about those because they do not become invasive. They are indeed
not
a clumping.
rhizomatous.
They're not rhizomaceous.
Do you
no.
promise us that?
I do.
They're not going to take over?
Yeah, but
He
they
swears.
also another quality of them is that they need to be in a shaded location. They cannot handle the full sun.
It's
They will-
it's an understory plant.
They will
It's absolutely-
scald badly.
They will scald.
Yep.
So bamboo, Sunset Glow Bamboo over there, which that one is safer, but I'm scared of planting bamboo. I've seen it just take over everything. I actually lived kind of next door growing up to Dina Deck, who had like a gardening column, I think in the Tennessean. And she had a bamboo grove over there, and we would go play in it, and then we would get in trouble. She'd be like, "Get out of my bamboo!" But it was so exciting because it just like filled the alley. But she would let us come into her garden, and it was absolutely stunning. And then down in front, we've got equisetum, so horsetail reed. Which this one, I don't think
looks
there's
like
a safe
little
one.
green stems to me.
It looks like beautiful, kind of dainty, a little bit spooky. It's also a good Halloween plant. But I am telling you, this will take over wherever you plant it. If you put it in a planter, it's going to root out of the bottom. And those roots, I remember reading on it once I started to learn about it. They go down like so deep. Like if you try to remove it, you have to like really dig deep, and they just shoot off runners everywhere. I actually almost planted it right when I started working here, and Austin was like, Caroline, you don't want to do that.
What's the stuff that looks like rice holes that's on top of it? Is that leaves
rice
that'll fall?
holes.
Rice holes?
That's what
That's where rice comes from, Josh.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. So if you do like rice, you'll want to plant one of those. Just kidding. Don't listen to that. That's terrible advice. Rice does
might buy
not
it.
come from those.
No.
But it's a really great look. I mean, I really like seeing them in planters. I see them in planters outside of businesses downtown. It is a cool plant, great look, but be aware that it will take over wherever. It'll spread into your neighbor's yard.
Particularly if you have
you
wet
can't get rid of it.
conditions.
Yes, they are like a wet loving plant. I have a friend who has them in pots sunken into her koi pond. And that looks really good there, and they're really, really healthy. And then we brought black mondo grass in, which we had last week. We brought a few to sprinkle in because, you know, they're spooky colored. And then we also have black pansies over there as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Both lovely additions to any particularly Halloween-themed landscape.
Goth landscaping. Those are your plants right there if you wanted to go
Where do you
for
get
that.
your piercings on these goth landscapings?
That's a good question.
Well, they have ears?
Who knows?
Huh?
Who knows where you would get it and what you would do with it. But that was our little Halloween tour, so thank you for coming along. Let's talk about hydrangeas, though. I know Austin's probably itching to talk about
we
hydrangeas
have not talked
this
about
morning.
them all day.
We haven't. I don't even know if we had a hydrangea question last week.
What?
So
I'm sure we did.
We had those pretty ones in here last week, though.
Oh, we
those
did.
gorgeous ones.
all right, so hydrangeas, when to cut? Do I cut? Last year had beautiful blooms on some. This year, none.
Okay, this is a great question. I'm going to do a webinar on this winter. I'm going to teach y'all how to prune every different species of hydrangea. So I don't know which hydrangea you're talking about, but I'm assuming it's going to be a macrophylla, which is the big either blue or pink blooms. And yeah, they did not bloom very well this year because of a late frost, which we have. So if that is what you're talking about, then do not cut it at all really over the wintertime. You got to leave the old stems up because that's where they bloom from. So as ugly as it might look over the wintertime, which it kind of does, the stems don't look very attractive. You got to leave them up. That'll give you the most opportunity to get, you know, leaves from those stems to produce blooms for you, okay? Now, if you have like really an old one and there's like really kind of dead looking wood in it, obviously remove any like dead looking wood. But for the most part, leave those stems up as much as you can through the winter. Now, different species of hydrangeas, you cut them differently, and there's actually we have a little handout here at Bates here where we can give you it's a guide on which hydrangeas to cut, when to cut, and when not to cut. Now, when to cut is going to be over the wintertime during dormancy with all of them. But there are some practices, some cultural practices you need to know before you start just whacking on your hydrangeas to make sure you get some blooms.
You need to understand what the ramifications
Of
are.
whacking your hydrangea is, yes.
That's right. So there you go.
So there it is. Yeah.
And some of those can be punitive.
Yes, they can.
I mean, if you whack on your hydrangeas incorrectly, you could get whacked.
Yes, you could.
And you don't want that.
No, you don't.
No,
want
you
it.
don't.
Oh.
But Austin did mention he's doing a webinar. So if you're wondering what that is, Bates Botanical Boot Camp, if you search that on YouTube or if you go to our website, we do have a link for that. Again, Bates Botanical Boot Camp. We will start releasing new ones this winter. So we don't really do them during the spring or fall. It's a little bit busy here at the nursery.
Yes.
But as stuff starts to slow down, we do start releasing those. So you can tune in live. We actually stream it through Zoom. So you can ask live questions, or they're all available to watch at a later date. And they're all free. So you don't have to pay a fee to come take a class.
Very, very cool. Joan has got a comment and a question here on the Facebook page. 25 years, that's amazing. I've been listening for 22 years and moved to Middle Tennessee. She's got a question for us. Has anyone else noticed the acorns this year? Sign of a bad winter? Another question. I sowed, SEWED, Kentucky 31 fescue last weekend and covered it with straw. Am I going to have success with that? She clarified it. She spell checked herself later on in there, but I think you're going to be okay if you can get some water on it.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're applying straw to a newly seeded area is the over application of it. Once that seed germinates,
You get little babies,
The
yeah.
straw goes from being an asset immediately to becoming a liability. So you really need to, unless you have very thinly applied it. You need to take a leaf rake once that seed gets up to maybe 2.5 to 3 inches in height and carefully rake that out of there, because it can actually start to kill the grass as it tries to grow through it and thicken up. So just be mindful of that. Straw is helpful on the germination side, not so much once it starts growing.
Kentucky 31's not the prettiest grass out there, but it's very reliable in Middle
Well,
Tennessee. It's a
what I
pasture
like
grass,
about Kentucky 31 is that it seems to be much more resilient to a lot of the pathogens that are associated with others.
Right.
Much of the problems with fescues can be alleviated simply by mowing correctly. Put your mower at the highest setting and never deviate from it.
Leave it up.
Especially when the weather is hot.
Yep.
You might be able to get by with it right now, but you've got to be mindful of it. They call it tall fescue, not short fescue.
Which earth mix adds to beds with a high clay content, where plants like azaleas and hydrangeas are dying because of the wet feet? What amendment are we putting in?
Hard to beat landscape for almost any application. And what you're going to get is a sufficient amount of particulate organic material in there. Now, if it really has a waterlogged problem, you may want to additionally incorporate some Enlighten into that, which
That's
is
the expanded shale product,
right?
Yeah.
And that'll greatly accelerate the amount of ability of the soil to be able to evacuate that excess moisture. So
big hole, lots of earth mix,
right? And if it's particularly wet, plant the plant, particularly if it's like an azalea rhododendron, on the high side. You want it to be. You don't want it to be sitting down where its feet, as already been said earlier in the program, having wet feet. Austin, talk about that. You just mentioned it in the little video we saw earlier. Wet feet's not a good thing for many, if not most plants.
I hate wet feet personally.
I do too.
I think a lot of plants, but when my feet get wet out here, it's the worst.
You should see his face when it rains and his shoes get wet.
It's
a sad day for me. You know, I can't wear boots. Boots kill my feet, so I'm a tennis shoes guy. I'm wearing my Nikes every single day, but if they get wet a lot quicker, and azaleas are like my feet.
You are an azalea.
They hate wet feet. They won't do well in that scenario at all.
They smell so good too when your feet get
Oh
wet.
yeah, it's great. I love that. But hey, going back to the question about acorns, it has been a crazy acorn season. What's up with that? Black walnuts the same way?
Yes.
Like, good Lord, I've got 6 billion black walnuts in my yard.
That's not
I was just shooting them out the other day with the lawnmower like softballs. I mean, it's just going everywhere. And yeah, me and Tyler were just talking about this the other day, how the amount of acorns that are in our new parking lot, they're just getting smashed by cars. It's been a fruit-filled year.
My hickory tree has gone crazy.
Yes,
they're
hickories are
all
throwing-
over my drivey.
I know.
And they drop heavy. They
they
actually
do.
broke my windshield a couple years ago. Yeah, it's
Your
wild.
windshield.
Hey, let's shift gears
under
for
it.
just a second here. Talk about where we are today, as is the case every Saturday.
Yes.
Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we have been beautifying Nashville since 1932. That lady right there, my grandmother. Nanny. That's her. She, over on 26th and Charlotte is where it all began. And now we're here on Whites Creek Pike, have been here since the late 50s. The Garden Center was built in 75. And we continue to work at our facility. Matter of fact, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you've been apprised of that recently, is that we've done a parking lot renovation over the summer. Just this week, Josh, we got the striping completed. So
talk to me about
we've got spacious, ample parking now, and we think we've done our homework sufficiently well enough to be able to make it easy to negotiate and to be able to maximize the amount of area that people have to park in. So
cool.
We invite you to come out. The dust is gone. The mud is gone. Come on out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where that since 1932 we've been bringing you the best in plants. No matter what you're thinking of, no matter if it's perennials, trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses, ground covers, annual plants. What we really specialize in, though, Josh, is expertise.
Yes, it is.
You know, that's what we try to demonstrate here on the show. This is all we do. We don't do anything else.
No light bulbs?
We don't do plumbing.
No?
I mean, we actually have to deal with plumbing, but that's because we have
Tell
irrigation.
me you have air filters.
We don't have air filters. We do not. So when you come out here and you've got gardening questions, particularly if you bring photographs on your phone or your tablet along with you, that'll help us to get insight on your unique landscape situation or problem that you might be having, and help you to get the right plants in the right place and hopefully the right actions to take to deal with whatever issues going on in your landscape. So come on out and see us. We're conveniently located a mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. And that's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West. And I promise you this, it is worth the drive no matter where you're coming from. I've talked to a lot of folks this week. Actually, yesterday I got to talk with a great many folks as I was in the parking lot throughout the striping process. So it gave me an opportunity to get to talk to a lot of folks. And they're gracious in their words, and I'm grateful to have them as readers of my newsletter.
Yep.
Got a lot of great comments this week. And this week I talked about this being the 15th anniversary of a roller coaster ride.
It was fun days.
When I had to repossess my business. And for those of you who have never repossessed a business, you do not get back what you have sold.
No.
You get back what's left of what
was
sold.
sold.
And at that point in time, it was fairly meager. So we scratched and clawed and had
Scratched
really good fortune on our side, and a lot of people supporting us, and that's the Nashville, Middle Tennessee community. We thank you for that. We could not, and obviously have done it without your help and support. Bates Nursery and Garden Center would not exist today were it not for that. So thank you for that. We continue to try to improve the way we do things, and we appreciate your kind remarks and your patronage. So come out and see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
Yep. May we just, I know we had a nice good spot there, but can we expound on one thing about the parking lot striping?
Oh, well, we'll see.
What you will see out here, folks, you can bring your trailer, and David had the forethought to make trailer parking spots, so you can bring your trailer and you don't have to worry about jackknifing it, because the way that they've added these spots is amazing. It's going to be great and fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to have to do some signage on the east and north lots to prevent trailers from pulling into those areas, because it's very tight. You really can't turn around. So the trailers will be all for the area straight in or further back.
Because I know everybody that pulls the trailer to the nursery they do this every day, and they bring them all around and they back them up and they do all kinds of stuff without hitting things. You know, it's just a really cool feature out there, folks.
Well, we really want to be able to. It'll at first glance you'll look at the parking area and go, "Well, isn't this a little bit much?" Don't you?
Nah.
Well, if you're here in the springtime, you may not believe that, because it's any of your big retail centers that are holiday centric, and most of them are, but their holiday exists largely between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Ours doesn't come until like March, April, and May, so we need the parking during that time of year. And so anyway, come out and check it out. You'll be able to see that we have.
That's cool.
We've expanded it significantly, and with the paving and all, it makes for a whole lot better. You can actually leave with a clean car.
Yes.
You used to be able to arrive with a clean car. Now you can leave with a clean car. So there you go.
And full of stuff.
And Rachel's laughing at that because she so relates to that. She comes in here every day, and she's frequently having to deal with the mud. So I know that makes her happy.
Hey. Questions, yeah.
What? We might have a feature that we need to run because we haven't run it yet.
Yeah, there's things around town.
And that might be
leaves,
blooming or colors.
Somebody would have to push a button. I don't know which color to tell, which button to push.
Hey, Austin, what's in bloom?
Yeah, all right. Or maybe what's more accurate, what's in color?
Yes.
Color, yep.
That's a big part of it. Not a ton's in bloom. You're still getting some leftover annuals. All right.
This time next week, there won't be anything.
There won't be any annuals next week. But Caroline told me her lantana is still going strong, so that's cool.
It's a shrub and it's
Zinnias
still blooming.
Zinnia's still popping. Gomphrena in my yard is still going, and my petunias obviously are lovely and gorgeous.
Yes.
You're welcome. And Caroline wrote down on my list here that her upright phlox is reblooming.
It's reblooming.
Whoa, that's
Now,
cool.
is that the tall, hardy phlox?
Yeah, it's the tall, bright eyes is the variety.
Yeah, and that's just good to show you that if you're quick to cut back old blooms, you'll get some new ones. So there you go. There's that. Roses are looking pretty good right now. Actually, knockouts are really are showing off. Bush Lespedeza, put that on the list. Have you all ever heard of that?
No.
I have.
David has.
What's the
Because he's
common
done this
name?
for 65 years. That is the common name, Bush Lespedeza.
Oh, okay.
Josh, you probably know Lespedeza as like a ground cover type crop.
Okay.
That farmers will use or whatever. But this is the bush form of that. Shout out to Ann once again in the office. She grows this plant and she loves it. It's blooming right now when a lot of things aren't. So cool plant. Check it out. See what you think. It's got a cool little purple bloom about it. It gets to be a large shrub. Dies back totally to the ground every year. Comes back from the earth and it blooms this time of year. So cool. Mums, asters, pansies, all three of those seasonal things. They're definitely in bloom. And y'all, my Jack Manny Clematis is still spitting blooms.
Wow.
Still spitting them. Telling you. Best one on the market. And then at the end here, let's talk about fall color because it's happening. It's been a great week for fall color. I'm very, very happy with our fall color this year. I mean, the hickories, y'all, hickories are some of the best yellow. Yellowish orange. I mean, so good. Really, really nice. A lot of maples are showing their reds and yellows and
Sumac
orange.
is blowing up.
Yeah.
Sumac is such a true red. Oxydendron, which is the sourwood, our native sourwoods here, blood red and beautiful. Ugh, they're really nice. I'm
Nice.
happy about it.
So passionate.
Kate,
about it.
look at that happy face. He's happy about it.
I love it. It's we talk about here at Bates, we get to look out across the new parking lot into the wood line. The hillside is what we call it, and we're always like, hey, look at the hillside right now this time of year. Like every year we talk about it, and we're like, that hillside's looking good this year, and it's lit
It's
up this year.
gorgeous right now.
Uh-huh.
Be worth it to come to the
glory in my
nursery just
yard
to
is
see it.
Just getting to say oxydendron makes you
Oxydendron.
happy.
Yep, it is. So there you go. That's what's in bloom and what's in color.
There you go.
Wonderful. So my Sheffield pink, like Hardy Mum, I wish I had a photo. I think I actually talked about it last week, is in full bloom right now. It's stunning. It's like this light pink and it's huge. So I bought one last year and Anne had told me, she was like, that's one of my favorite perennials, but it will take over.
It's so good.
It like... at least tripled in size, but probably more. So
There's this woman up at the road on Old Hickory Boulevard. I know you've seen her house because you drive that way home too, but she's got a little cut flower operation thing going on.
Yeah.
She does and she shops out here with us. She's a really nice lady. But she grows a whole row. She's got a row garden pretty much of like cut flowers. And I just love driving by her place because almost every month you've got something that's in bloom at a different time. Cool. So it's really cool. But she grows Sheffield pink mums, and I saw them yesterday on my way home. She got a whole row of them. I mean, loaded. You can't even see foliage. All you see is just dainty pink blooms that are. It's money. It's money.
yeah,
Money.
and they bloom right now when everything else is out. It's a great plant to put in the ground. We have some at the nursery right now, so come on out and get some. Let's get a couple more questions in. We do have a question about flowering perennials. Is it too soon to prune back Black-Eyed Susan and coneflower to the ground? So I would say no. I grow both of those, and at this point in the year, those spent blooms, the blooms that were gorgeous in the summer are going to be black. The stems are going to be dead. And I actually did prune all of mine last week or earlier this week when I was gardening because they're starting to come back from the ground, or the foliage, those leaves that are still there are actually really healthy. So it's going to clear it out, give those some sunlight. My Rudbeckia, which is Black-Eyed Susan, and a lot of my Echinacea will actually hold leaves above the ground through the winter.
Wow.
So they're going to get the sunlight that they need. So yes, it's good to go ahead and remove anything that's dead off of those. Sometimes I'll leave some of the seed heads up for the birds because I know they like to eat them in the winter and it's cute to watch them, but it's not going to hurt the plant. It's actually going to be good for it to go ahead and take all of that dead
Question
dead stuff
about the
back.
seed heads.
Yeah, and one of the things that people should also be thinking about with the cold weather coming in next week, if you still have summer annuals out there that are up, they're going to turn to slime.
Yeah,
They're
my lantana's gonna be gross.
They're much easier to deal with before their slime stage.
Yep.
So I would encourage you to get that done.
If
a
one
good
were
tip.
to harvest the coneflower seed heads, What's the chances of getting some to sow in the spring?
Pretty good.
Pretty
good.
Okay.
I usually
now, whether they'll germinate or not is something else, but you can
sow them all day long. Okay.
So what I'll do with mine a lot of the time,
SEW.
I've got kind of a wildflower bed. I'll just take seed heads and then go spread them out down in that bed. And I usually get a decent amount, especially with the rutabaga. I mean, those will reseed like crazy. I was actually going to mention after what's in bloom, my little rutabaga grove does reseed itself throughout the season. So I do have some healthy looking blooms that are fully green, fully in bloom right now. Wow. Not a ton. And they're amongst the dead stuff that I recently cut back. But, you know, if you kind of shake them loose a little bit, they'll reseed throughout the growing season and you'll have stuff blooming kind of, you know, all summer long, which is really nice. So speaking of overwintering stuff that you were just talking about, best way to overwinter potted succulents. So a lot of succulents, are not going to be hardy here. So you kind of have to know what you have. If you have one that's not hardy, you should bring it in now, maybe have brought it in a couple weeks ago, and make sure you're giving it plenty of sunlight. Most succulents like full sun or a lot of bright indirect sunlight. And make sure you're not watering them too much as the days are shorter. They're not going to be getting as much sunlight. So you don't want to water them to where they're going to sit wet and rot. Now, there are hardy succulents out there. We've got sedums. We've got hen and chicks, which I consider a succulent. There's a couple other ones. With those, I have some in pots and in the ground. I don't do anything to them. If they're a hardy succulent here in Middle Tennessee, they are very, very hardy, and they really don't need any care. My hens and chicks, I have them in the ground and in pots, and they seem to do just fine through the winter.
Are they free
without
range?
anything. They're free range, free range hen and chicks. They're actually everywhere. I love that plant. I have a friend who has his yard covered in hens and chicks. He dug them all up when we got the December freeze. I asked him how many, and he said 300 to 500, and brought them all inside. Pretty sure they would have overwintered just fine because mine were okay. But that's a great little hardy plant that stays up through the winter and is really cute.
You know, there's really the biggest thing to do with succulents this time of year, is with respect to watering, is don't.
Don't water.
Err on the dry side. If you're ever in doubt as to whether it needs, if you're even thinking about, just don't. Mm-hmm. It needs to be obviously desiccated.
Excuse me?
It needs to be dried out.
Wow. Desiccated.
Yep. Never use a big word when a diminutive one will do.
3 syllables is better, right? Okay.
All right, trying to cold stratify seeds this winter in milk jugs in Tennessee. How much sun should they get?
Over the winter?
Over the winter.
None. If you want to cold stratify your seeds don't need sunlight over the wintertime. They can lie totally dormant. I mean, for me, it's just to keep my seeds in my fridge.
And whether you have it in a milk jug or not really doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter either. No, I'm more of like a paper bag kind of guy with seeds. But most seeds are packaged in plastic. Like, they can be in a plastic thing. Like, I put them in those little sandwich bags and put them in the fridge. But they don't need sunlight through the wintertime. There's only a few. There's actually not too many seeds that even really need sunlight to germinate. Right. They just need warm temperatures and moisture. Lettuce is the exception. For some reason, lettuce germinates way, way better when it has actual direct light on it, so you don't even really bury those seeds at all. But no, don't worry about sunlight through the winter. Just keep them cold, and whenever spring comes around, sow them.
And there are very few plants that require a double dormancy. That's not mostly garden plants, but they require a double stratification. So, you need to do some research to find out what that is.
Good question, though.
Yeah, that was a great question. When do you cover strawberry plants, and what is best?
Never.
Those things are so hardy.
You don't cover strawberries. Don't even worry about it. It's like an evergreen perennial plant here, okay? I mean, if you really wanted to, I guess you could throw some wheat straw over them or something, but you don't have to do anything with strawberries.
If you're going to cover strawberries, it needs to be with heavy whipping cream.
Yes.
Or chocolate.
There you go.
Yeah, one of those two. That's what you're going to cover them with.
Champagne.
Yep, very hardy plants. Don't worry about it. Yes.
Cover them in champagne?
Yes, drop
Soak
them, right
them in
the
champagne. Now we're getting fancy.
Prosecco, even better.
I'm not a champagne fan. All right, with next week's frost, is it too late to plant in ground for small shrubs and perennials?
No, y'all. It's a good time.
Yep.
It's a good time. Like I was saying earlier, don't worry about the frost. All that frost is light. That ain't nothing. It's gonna hurt any shrub. Especially like deciduous shrubs that have no leaves. Great time to plant those over the wintertime. When they have no leaves, so for me, the best time to plant.
All right, we got a houseplant question. Okay. Alocasia, pothos, and just general houseplants, do you have a recommendation for a fertilizer? So kind of across the board, I mean, with some of my specialty plants, I'll get a different fertilizer or mix it differently. But what I do with a lot of mine is I use Osmocote, which is a slow release 6-month feed, and I feed them in March. So I'll just shake it out, read the directions on there, put it on the top of the soil, water it. And then I will supplement a lot of my other plants with a liquid fertilizer that has a higher nitrogen count. So my favorite one is Jack's Orchid Food. It is really good for the leaves, and I started using it probably about a year ago, and I've had the best results with that. The leaves come out healthy, gorgeous, green, and glossy. So again, I go with 2. I go with the slow release, and then supplement with something else.
Hey, Josh, what does that music mean?
That means it's coming to the end, David.
Hey, we want to thank everyone who's tuned in to the At Home Show for all of these years. It's been a lot of fun, but the fun's not stopping.
No, it's not.
We're just calling it a little something different.
Yeah, you're not going to be at homies anymore. You're either going to be an innie or an outie from now on.
And you will be gardening inside out, one way or the other. So anyway, stay tuned.
It's still a Saturday morning tradition.
Absolutely.
It'll still come to you from Bates Nursery and Garden Center and the Green Room.
And
we'll
the same
all
cast.
be here.
Yes.
Okay. Whether you're an innie
maybe Rachel
or an
won't
outie.
be here, but you know.
Thanks,
She'll be
Rachel.
back. Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Thank
Rachel, you did
very much.
great.
We really appreciate you. Pinch hitting.
See you next
time.
week.